Continuation of the previous discussion, operations management ultimately is known as the process management. When we are converting inputs into outputs, we focus more on process. Process management is operations management for a manufacturing company. And when we are processing inputs to produce outputs, we ultimately focus on demand analysis, product design, process design, capacity planning, facility layout, work measurement, scheduling and sequencing, inventory and materials management, quality management, supply chain coordination, operations planning and control, lean operations, and just-in-time or JIT, maintenance and reliability management, operations analytics, and decision making. So we will focus on the different, major areas of operations management. So, for example, demand analysis. So maybe if we finish today's chapter, we'll focus on demand forecasting, on demand analysis, how the operations manager is involved with demand analysis. And before that, we are just giving a revision of the definition of operations management. We have said that operations management is the process of planning, organizing, staffing, leading and controlling, or planning, implementation and controlling resources needed to produce outputs or products and services for a company. Operations management is concerned with product, process, and supply chain. Because product is the output process, ultimately the processing and the operations manager is very much concerned with the supply chain coordination. Supply chain coordination means, yes, here, who are the external suppliers of your raw materials? This is very important, and how you can distribute the process output to the users. So you have to focus on logistics, inventory, etc. And also the operations manager must focus on reducing quality, reducing cost and improving quality. And the operations manager must concern with time, how they can process the same product in shorter time. And flexibility is very important because sometimes you need to produce less, sometimes you need to produce more. How can you balance the processing of process management? Flexibility. Sometimes we say cushion capacity. That means when you are designing capacity, you are keeping some extra capacity, and the extra capacity is known as cushion capacity. So in case of emergency, you can use that cushion capacity to meet the emergency. It is also referred to as flexibility. Operations manager's transformation role is to add value, and we have explained value added, and also maybe you have finished a case on value added, how the operations managers are adding value and helping to value added process. And we have shown you in different ways. For example, here we have shown the sales price of a product and raw materials. The difference between sales price of the product and raw materials is known as the value added. And operations manager ultimately use land, labor, capital to produce products. Or in other way, say for example, if we show you how the operations manager is adding value, the operations manager is buying outside raw materials. Say for example, fabric. Fabric, the operations manager is buying as a part of supply chain coordination, and then they use land, labor, and capital. They use land, labor, and capital, and price of the land, labor, and capital is known as what? The price of land is known as rent. Sometimes government, we have to pay taxes to the government. That is also rent, land, value, price of the factors. These are the price of the factors. Land, rent, labor, wages, capital, interest. And the entrepreneur who is investing money and time for business also enjoys some profit. So among the factors of production, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur, Three are known as the inputs: land, labor, and capital inputs. Also, raw material is input, and raw materials we refer to as outside raw materials, not the inside raw materials. So if you are using inside raw materials, this is ultimately physical assets capital. That means that is process output we are using. So say for example, if you are paying rent $20, wages $20, interest $20, your total input cost will be 60. And the company is expecting a profit. And say for example, if the profit is 25% or 20 taka, $20. So total sales price will be sum of all factors price plus the company's expected profit. So here the total is the total sales price is 100. Sales price. Sales price also include raw materials because you are buying the raw materials from outside. Altogether, sales price includes rent, wages, interest, profit, and also the outside raw materials. And total sales price here is 120. So when we are setting $120 sales price, what is the value added? We say what we have added inside the company. So this is outside value added. Raw materials value added are value added of the company. It is the value added of the company which have produced raw materials. That means it is also value added, but it is not your value added. This is the value added because this is output of another company. Maybe fabric is output of a knitting mill. So when they sell the raw materials to you at 100 taka, this raw material has included rent, wages, interest, and profit of the knitting mill. So it is also value added, but not your value added. This is the value added of another company. And what is the value added in your company? Here in your company, your value added is what you have taken from outside will be deducted from the sales price. 180 minus 100. Your value added is 100. So for example, as a operations manager, if you can reduce some cost, what will happen in value added? If you can reduce some cost, say for example, rental, taxes is same, wages you are paying less, say for example, $10 wages. Interest, you are using own capital, owner's capital. Maybe you are not paying any interest, zero interest. If the capital is wholly supplied by the full capital is from owner, then is there an interest? There is no interest. All right. So for example, this time we can think of wages. Wages are same, taxes same, but this time capital includes what? Two capital. One is known as the borrowed capital. Borrowed capital, and another is known as owner capital. Also equity. Also equity capital. So borrowed capital, when you are taking money from outside, it is known as borrowed capital. This time we are thinking that there is no borrowed capital. There is no borrowed capital. The total amount is contributed by the owner. So what will happen in the value added? Will there be any change in value added? Now maybe you are thinking that the total cost of factors will be 40 and profit will remain same. So in that case, what will be the effect? Effect will be your value added will decrease. And or maybe as the owner is supplying, say for example, he was supplying 5,000. Now he's supplying additional 5,000. So his profit may increase. Because usually we see that the sales price of a product usually doesn't change. The sales price will remain same as 180. But the entrepreneur profits will increase because now he will enjoy additional profit, maybe 40. So here your value added will remain same. What will happen? The entrepreneur's profit will increase. Similarly, say for an example, you think about a tailor. Tailor is also a business, tailoring service, not about the garments business, tailoring service, a small tailoring service. What happens to a small tailoring service? Tailoring service, say for example, he has rented a room. So when he will rent a room, he has to pay rental. এখন আমরা বলতেছি একজন আপনারা যে জামা কাপড় বানান যে টেইলর তাদের নিয়ে কথা বলতেছি we are talking about the tailors. What will happen to the tailors? Say for an example, here the rent will be the rental of the tailoring shop 20 taka or $20. Wages, now the tailor usually does not have any workers, so this time his wages is zero. Wages is zero, but he is self-employed. Because of his self-employed, what will happen? His profit will be higher. Say for example, his wages will also be included here in profit. And sales price usually same in among the all scenarios. So here your value added raw materials price is also same. Fabric, you bought fabric for 100. But here, two zeros are there. No outside capital, borrowed capital, no additional labor. Only the owner is the labor. So in that case, what is happening? The entrepreneur is demanding more profit. It was 40, in the previous 20, interest and wages now adding, and it is becoming 60. So when you can do such type of business, maybe you are thinking that the fourth scenario, I'm talking about now fourth scenario. What is the fourth scenario? Fourth scenario is that now the owner, the room is also owned by him. That means, I mean that এই যে আপনার টেইলররা যে দোকানে কাজ করে ওই দোকানটা যদি সে নিজে কিনে own shop. নিজের shop means the owner of the land is the owner. So here you do not need to pay any rent. Only the tailor is working there. So he will charge additional profits. That means raw materials, he has bought raw materials at 100 and he is selling the product at 180. So the total value added will remain same. We are assuming that sales price is same in the market. So when the sales price is same among all the scenarios, sales price 180, sales price 180, 180, etc. So you can charge what? You can charge more profit. This profit is logical because your capital is yours, wages are yours, shop is also owned by you. So you can charge higher profit. So all the factors, contributions are going to the owner's pocket. And value added is remaining same because of fixed sales price, because of fixed raw materials price, outside raw material price. So operations manager can, is concerned with cost, and ultimately these costs are contributing to company's profit, as we have seen in our previous cases. Also, say for example, when set the sales price, the operations manager is also very much concerned with the costing. Operations manager is also concerned with costing. So, for example, some of you work in garments companies. This is we are now talking about the merchandising. So merchandising is not a matter of merchandising. This is ultimately he is the production merchandiser. Maybe sometimes he is the he is dealing with the production, coordinates with the production manager. So here the buyer has requested 5,000 units, and your fixed cost in your factory is, it is 4,500, and your per unit 4,500, this is your fixed cost, and your variable costs are here: fabric, thread, screen print, label, hanger, polybag, additional trim, testing, local transportation, fabric and trim handling, cost of making, labor charge, documentation charge, and variable overhead. So total variable cost is $3.10. And what is the price? When you will go to the negotiation table, what price you will hike, or what price you will ask? So here you know your fixed cost, you know your variable cost. These variable costs are coming from the buyers, because he said that this type of fabric is important, and you, after analyzing the fabric, you found that it will require $1.6 for fabric. So that means that to produce that particular product that the buyer is demanding will be $3.10, and buyers is interested to buy 5,000 units. So when he is going to buy 5,000 units, you will divide your fixed cost by that 5,000 units, and your per unit fixed cost will be 0.90. That means it is $4,500, and your per unit fixed cost will be 0.90. So when your fixed cost is 0.90 and variable cost is 3.10, so what is the total cost? Per unit cost. Per unit cost is how much? Is the per unit cost? Are with me? Per unit cost, your minimum.
Yes, sir, $4.
$4 is your minimum cost. So maybe you are thinking now to add some profit. What is the expected profit from the owner? So say for example, 25%, this $4 is your cost, and your profit, you are expecting 20% profit on sales price. 20%, it is cost, not sales price. So when the sales price, 20% profit will be on sales price, it means that your cost is 80% and 20% is profit. Are you getting? Cost is 80% and 20% is profit. So it is 80%. So if you think that $4 is your 80% divided by 80.8, and you will get the price. Are you getting why I have divided by 0.8?
Yes, I'm getting, sir.
Because the profit is on sales price. If it is said that the 20% profit on cost, what will happen? Then you will charge directly 20% on this amount, point multiplied by 0.20. This is your profit. 0.80 will be your profit. So cost plus profit equals sales price. Sales price. Or you can directly calculate the sales price, because cost divided by 1 minus what? Profit. That means cost indicates it is 80% and 20% is profit. So you can directly calculate what? 0.40 divided by 0.8. 0.8 indicates that 20% is profit. So cost must be 80%. That's why 80%. When you will divide it by 80%, it will indicate that it is your price. Because 20% of your profit is considered here. So when you are even as a merchandiser, you are dealing with what? You are dealing with negotiation with the buyer to negotiate price. This is also referred to as price negotiation. When you are going to negotiate price as a merchandiser, you have to think about the total manufacturing cost. Some costs are fixed, some costs are variable. So how you'll know what is the fixed cost of your factory? This data is available to the accounts department. So you'll collect the data from the accounts department. What is the fixed cost of the factory? And variable cost, you have to decide what is the variable cost based on your buyer's product specification, or sometimes technical package of the product. So, and what will be the profit? It is the company policy. What may be the profit? The company can change it. Maybe the company can think that my profit will be 25%. When the company is talking about 25% profit, then what will be your sales price? Sales price will be, it will be 75%. So this sales price will be a little bit higher. 4 divided by 0.75, because 25% is profit. And the price in the negotiation table, you will charge $5.33, or in negotiation it is also known as opening offer or interest. What will be your opening offer? What will be your interest in negotiation? And there are several issues of negotiation. Maybe these are taught in your merchandising course. I'm just focusing on that. As an operations manager, you have concern. As a merchandiser, you must know about the production cost of the product. So if you know the production cost, then you can check the price. So for example, here it says the production quantity is 5,000, fixed cost is 4,500, and per unit fixed cost is $9, and per unit variable cost is, these are all same. Now the company policy is that 20% profit on cost. So when you say 20% profit on cost, that means 20% you will charge on cost times this one times 0.20. It is 0.80. 0.80 is your profit. So, and your price is cost plus profit. And we have explained these as the factors of production. These are all the inputs. You're using labor, so for an example. You're using land taxes. So it is not organized. We have said, say, for example, variable cost, fixed overhead. And these are related with your processing and materials. This is administrative cost known as. So when you are negotiating the price as a merchandiser, you have to know about the cost structure of the product. Maybe now if you are thinking that you are going to use high quality raw materials, then if you do not change your profit policy, then your price you have to hike additional price, say $1.6, now it is $2.6. What is happening? So you have to focus more on what? On raw materials. And it is the new sales price will be $1 will be profit, 20% on your cost. Maybe sometimes you automate the factory. In case of automation, what happens? In case of automation, your fixed cost increases. Maybe your other costs will change. So here your fixed cost from 4,500, it has increased to 9,000 because there will be depreciation of the machines. So, for an example, it will increase to 9,000. In that case, your per unit fixed cost will increase. And even if the variable costs are same, maybe your unit cost will change from $4 to $4.9. And because of automation, you have to charge additional price. And your profit remains same, 20% on cost price. So that means when you are negotiating with the buyer, you are thinking about many different factors. Maybe, say for an example, you are thinking that you are now green factory. So to become the green factory, what will happen? Your maintenance fixed cost will increase. Maybe because of automation or making the factory environmentally friendly, your fixed cost may increase. You have to charge that fixed cost when you are selling the price, when you're negotiating with the buyer. Now, what may happen when the company is offering more quantity? We will focus on your economies of scale. When the buyer is offering, say for example, 7,000 quantity and your fixed cost remains same, we are now discussing about the sensitivity. Cost sensitivity analysis. Sometimes we say scenario analysis. As an operations manager, as a merchandiser, what you have to do, you have to analyze different scenario and you have to negotiate following that different scenario. Now, if the buyer is interested to offer 7,000 and if your fixed cost is still within your capacity, then what will happen? Your cost will decrease because your fixed cost, per unit fixed cost declined to 6.4 because 4,500 is divided by a more quantity. So per unit fixed cost has become 6.4. It was, in previous case, it was divided by 5,000. Per unit fixed cost was $9. So when you are producing more, your fixed cost decreases. So now, as the buyer is placing more quantity, what you can do? You can reduce your price. 4.9. In the previous case, it was 5.8. In the previous case, it was 6. In previous case, it was 4.8. At least 4.8. Now, when the quantity has increased, the 4.8 price is declining to 4.49 or 4.5. So when you are negotiating with the buyer, how many units they are going to buy, it matters to you. Because of increasing quantity, your per unit cost is decreasing. Per unit cost is decreasing. When you are, say for example, placing order, when you are discussing with the buyers, so maybe you have to focus on break-even analysis. What is your break-even analysis? How many units will be break-even? To know the break-even analysis, what type of analysis especially we do? We are focusing on order-based analysis of cost because many of you are merchandisers. So here, say for an example, your buyer is offering $4 and your fixed cost is 4,500 and your variable cost is 3 point, same scenario, same, everything is same. So will you be in break even? How many units will make you break even? To know the break even analysis, what you have to do, you have to first calculate the contribution margin. How to calculate contribution margin? Contribution margin means sales minus variable cost. Here the sales price is, offered sales price is 4 and your variable cost, not the fixed cost. Variable cost is 3.10. So your contribution margin per unit is $0.9. So the contribution margin will use to cover your fixed cost because still you didn't consider fixed cost. So what will be your break-even point? So break-even point is calculated by fixed cost divided by contribution margin. Your fixed cost is 4,500 divided by your contribution margin is 0.9. So to be break-even, you must sell 5,000 units. Break-even means if you can sell 5,000 units, there will be no profit or no loss. It is known as break even. It is known as BEP. So are you getting? So when the buyer begins with price, not the quantity, then you have to say that I can offer you at $4. I can, what you will be your answer? I can offer you at $4 if you buy minimum 5,000 units. Are you getting the issue? আপনারা আছেন তো আমার সাথে?
জি স্যার,
জি
আছে
স্যার।
স্যার।
So
Sir.
we are discussing about cost. All right, how cost is affecting your decision, whether you will entertain the buyer or not. So you can calculate break-even point. You can even say, for example, when price decreases, now the previous price was 4, now the buyer is offering $3.5. So when they are offering $3.5, would you accept the order? In that case, what will happen? Your contribution margin, what will be your contribution margin? Your contribution margin is here, say for example, sales minus variable cost. Your variable cost remains same because take back is same. This with the same take back, he is offering 3.5. So now your contribution margin is 4. So what will be your break-even point? Your break-even point will be fixed price, fixed cost divided by contribution margin. So at least you have to, the order must be 11,250 units. So if he buys 11,250 units, you can offer $3.5 because it will be break even. There will be no profit, no loss scenario. This is also sensitivity analysis. Sometimes they offer a price, say for example, $3. So you will then calculate your break-even point. And then you will say that considering your capacity, if your factory has, say for example, 11,000 capacity, you cannot accept the order at 3.5. Then your analysis will be reverse. You have to calculate what may be the sales price. You know the variable cost, you know the break-even, you know the capacity, you know the what will be the sales price. So you will solve the equation for P, sales price. So it is sensitivity analysis for the merchandiser. sensitivity analysis. So when you are, say for example, you are analyzing, negotiating, analyzing cost, negotiating with the buyer, you have to consider these factors. So for example, what is your cost, per unit cost? Whether your factory is automated, green, what is the impact on greening on the fixed cost? What is the break-even point of your company? So if the order matches with your break-even point, then you will accept the order without any question. So it is, known as sensitivity analysis. Now, say for example, especially when we teach the students about the costing, we usually refer to as three costs. One is direct materials cost, another is direct labor cost, and another is known as manufacturing overhead, MOS, or manufacturing overhead. These are the three components of product cost. So when we set the price of a product, then we calculate what is the direct materials cost. Fabric, trims, these are direct materials. Then what is the direct labor cost? Direct labor cost is depends on SMV, standard minute value. What is the standard minute value of the product? And you must know what is the per minute labor cost at your factory. So if the per minute labor cost is $0.09 and your SMV to produce that particular product is 8.5, then your labor cost will be 77. That means SMV times labor cost per unit. Your labor cost will be 77 cents. And manufacturing overhead, your manufacturing overhead is, say for example, manufacturing overhead includes depreciation, utility bill, etc. So your manufacturing overhead cost is here 0.05 and 0.01 is variable. What is variable manufacturing cost? Electricity bill. If production is there, electricity will be there. That's why it is variable cost. So you can think of the variable overhead and fixed overhead. Total your product cost is yearly. Your product cost is here. What is the total product cost? Product cost is sum is $3.0. Same as the previous case. Here also same 3.10. 3.10. Your product cost. Now you are thinking about the other cost in the factory. Other costs, for example, variable sales and marketing, administrative, fixed sales and marketing, fixed administrative cost. These are known as the operating cost. And from our um, financial accounting course, you know that there is a cost of goods sold. This cost is related with what? It is known as cost of goods sold, COGS, and this is known as operating cost, or what is the name of operating cost? Sales and admin cost is also known as operating cost. So sales and admin cost and operating cost, you have to add this costing together. In the previous example, this have taken from a company. They didn't consider what is your sales and marketing and administrative cost. So here we have considered the sales and administrative cost. Total sales and administrative cost is 30,000, and 30,000 is the fixed marketing cost. For 30,000 is the fixed administrative cost. And this 30,000 and this how have we got per unit? This is per unit cost component. This 4,000, say for example, your yearly estimated output is 100,000. Maybe it is being little bit complicated, because before you knowing this scenario, we have to know about the costing. It is not costing of the merchandise, it is costing of the accountant. Maybe that course have not been covered. That's why I'm not going to explain it at this moment. Because how this have come, how this has come, how 0.4 has come, there are a lot of explanations needed. So for the moment, we are focusing what? We are focusing on value added. Operations manager is adding value, and the operations manager is concerned with the 100% capacity utilization. His job is to utilize capacity utilization. When the operations manager can utilize the capacity at 100%, what happens? The per unit cost decreases. How it happens? Per unit cost decrease happens. This is an example given. The example says that your factory capacity is 5,000. What is your capacity? You can produce 5,000 units. When you can produce 5,000 units, if you are accepting 6,000 units, what will happen? Your fixed cost, say for example, you need to rent a new factory. Your fixed cost will increase because your max capacity is 5,000. So fixed cost will change when you are going to accept any order that is beyond your 100% capacity. Fixed cost when you are producing 1,000 is 100,000. When you are producing 2,500, it is also 100,000. When you are producing 5,000, it is also 100,000 because this is your max capacity. Now you are going to accept an order that is beyond your capacity. You need to rent one more factory. So your fixed cost will, say for an example, will double. From 100,000, it will be 200,000. 200,000. So in that case, say for example, per unit variable cost, this is fabric cost. Your fabric cost is $10. And your per unit fixed cost, we are calculating average cost, variable cost plus fixed cost. So when you are producing 1,000 and your fixed cost is 100,000, 100,000 divided by 1,000 equals 100. When you are producing 2,500, your per unit fixed cost is decreasing because fixed cost is fixed. 100,000 will be divided by 2,500. Now your fixed cost will be 40. 100,000 divided by 2,500 equals 40. When you are receiving an order with 5,000 units, what will happen? Your fixed cost will decline more. 100,000 divided by 5,000 equals 20. So your average cost 10 plus 100, 110 average cost. 10 plus 40, 50. 10 plus 20, 30. But when you are producing more than your capacity, from 5,000, you are producing 6,000 beyond your capacity. You have to rent one more factory. The fixed cost will double, 200,000. And what will happen here? 200,000 will be divided by 6,000 and your fixed cost will be 33. Now your average cost will be 43. 10 plus 33 equals 43. That means here, if you look at this figure, when you are producing more from Q1, you are producing Q2. When you are producing Q1, your cost was C1, higher, 0 to C1. When you are producing Q2, what is happening? Your cost is declining to C1, 0 to C1. That means when you are producing more, your average cost declines. This is known as economies of scale. Economies of scale are cost advantages companies experience when production becomes efficient, and fixed cost can be spread over a larger amount of goods. Fixed cost is spreading. Why the unit cost is decreasing? Because this is your unit cost. It was 110 when you are producing 1,000 quantity Q1. It was your per unit average cost was 110. When you are producing 2,500, your power unit cost is becoming 50. That means decreasing. When you are producing more, your cost is decreasing from here to there. And when you are producing at 100% capacity, 5,000, your per unit cost is becoming 30. And it is the minimum point. When you are going beyond the capacity, beyond your 100% capacity, 6,000, your cost is becoming 33. Producing 6,000, average cost is 43. 10 plus 33, 43. So 43, it is again upward going. That means when you are producing more, your cost is decreasing, but up to your 100% capacity. Beyond your capacity, the average cost will again decrease. Again will increase. So as an operations manager, what you have to do, you have to produce at your 100% capacity. You have to produce at your 100% capacity. That will minimize your cost because your variable cost remains fixed, but your per unit fixed cost is decreasing when you are producing more up to 100% capacity. It was 100, now it is 40, now it is 20. So average cost, what is the result of per unit fixed cost is decreasing? Result is average cost is decreasing up to 100% capacity. And beyond which your product cost will increase. That's what we have said, economies of scale. So the lessons for the operations manager, lessons for the production manager is that you have to produce at 100% capacity. Lessons for the merchandisers is that merchandiser must know that what is the factory capacity. You have to accept order up to your factory capacity. When you are accepting order beyond your factory capacity, maybe you have to rent one more factory, or there are some alternatives. Say, for example, you can think of outsourcing. That is available in our country because we are in very weak point. We fully rely on the buyer's discretion. বায়ার যা বলবে তাই, এর বাইরে গেলেই আপনার ব্যবসা বন্ধ। এ কারণে আমাদের অ্যাপারেল ভ্যালু চেইনের যে সমস্যা সেটা হলো যে our apparel production is totally buyer driven manufacturing, not the producer or demand driven manufacturing. So this is ultimately very important for producer driven manufacturing, but you have to think about it. আপনি আউটসোর্সিং কেন করান? Because you are at 100% capacity. And if you produce everything by yourself, maybe you have to take similar type of more additional chunk. এটাকে বলা হয় কি? Capacity chunk. যদি আপনার আরো 5,000-এর অর্ডার আপনি পান, তাহলে আপনি আরেকটা ফ্যাক্টরি ভাড়া নেবেন। Because it will again bring you here at the minimum point. So when you are thinking about the order negotiation, you have to think about your production capacity. And as a production operations manager, you will produce at your 100% capacity. That will minimize your average cost. Production manager is concerned with cost. This is production manager's concern. And if we look at your Excel sheet, this is economies of scale. Say, for example, here is the case. The variable cost of a production factory is 15K. Is it visible to you? আপনারা আছেন, দেখতে পান তো?
Yeah, visible.
বুঝতেছেন নাকি কি বলতেছি আমরা? ওকে, সো আমরা একটু পরে আপনাদের কোয়েশ্চেন সেশনে আসব। আগে লেকচারটা একটা পয়েন্ট নিয়ে আসি। সো the variable cost of a production factory is 15. Production factory না, এখানে হবে the variable cost of a product হবে variable cost of a product, কারণ কি variable cost depends on product. The variable cost of a product is $15 and fixed cost of a factory. Fixed cost of a factory is 200,000. The production capacity, the production capacity of the factory, is 5,000 units. Calculate the average cost and draw a cost curve showing 2,000 units production, 3,500 units and 5,000 units production and 6,000 units production. Assume that producing beyond 100% capacity will require a more production facility. That means your fixed cost will double. Or assume that producing beyond 100% capacity will double your fixed cost. It will make it sensible. So what are the units production we are going to do? Our units 2,000, 3,500, 2,000, then 3,500, then 5,000, then 6,000. Or maybe you can say 5,500. It doesn't matter. So what is the variable cost per unit? The order you are negotiating with the buyer, the variable cost is $15. $15 is your variable cost. Variable cost তো একই থাকবে নাকি? প্রোডাক্ট যাই তৈরি করেন, ভেরিয়েবল কস্ট কি বেশি কম হবে?
না স্যার, সেম
একই থাকবে।
একই থাকবে, সেম থাকবে। এবার ফিক্সড কস্ট আপনার, হোয়াট ইজ দ্য ফিক্সড কস্ট? ফিক্সড কস্ট when you are producing, your fixed cost is 200,000. 200,000 is your fixed cost. So 200,000 is your fixed cost. 200,000 is your fixed cost. But when you are producing beyond your capacity, আপনার capacity কি? The production factory capacity is 5,000. 5,000 এর বেশি যখন যাবেন তখন কি হবে? 100% when the company will produce beyond capacity, 100% capacity, it will double the fixed cost. So your fixed cost will double. 400,000 double. 400,000. So what will be the per unit fixed cost? Fixed cost divided by how many units you are producing? 100. When you are producing 3,500, your per unit cost is decreasing. When you are producing 5,000, it is also decreasing. When you are producing 6,000, now it is again increasing. It was declining trend, but it is increasing because you are beyond your capacity, beyond capacity. It was within capacity, So now per unit variable দরকার নেই, per unit fixed cost. This is per unit fixed cost. Now, so your per unit average cost. Now we will calculate what? Average cost per unit. What is the average cost per unit? Here the average cost per unit is variable cost plus per unit fixed cost. 115. Variable cost plus fixed cost. Variable cost plus fixed cost. Variable cost plus fixed cost plus variable cost. It is your per unit cost now. What is it? It is your per unit cost, and you are producing your production capacity is here. It is your production units produced. 1,150. When you are producing, Q means production. When you are producing 2,000, your average cost is 115. When you are increasing production, your average cost has decreased. When you are producing 5,000, your average cost again decreasing, and it is the minimum 55. But when you are producing more than your capacity, again it is increasing to 82. So if you draw a curve, what will happen? So you select this data and go to recommended chart, and our recommended chart will be, it can be a scatter diagram, it should be line diagram. What happens? Units, average cost and units produced. Insert recommended chart.
স্যার এটা হবে স্ক্যাটার ডায়াগ্রাম হবে স্যার
Scatter diagram কি হবে? Maybe we have to set the x-axis and y-axis. There is a problem in axis definition. Units produced and average cost. Oh, maybe only average cost. When you are talking about only average cost, what happens to line diagram? Yes. We are showing average cost. Here it is add data labels. You can add data labels. 115. It must be line diagram line.
স্যার এখানে প্লাসে চিহ্ন করে এটা চেঞ্জ করা যাবে স্যার
No,
এক্সেস কে ওয়াই করা যাবে ওয়াই কে এক্সেস করা যাবে
এটা উপরে এটা যাবে এটা, তাহলে হবে সম্ভবত, দেখি তো। Units produced and average cost. So what happens? Units and average cost. Scattered diagram. Is it scattered? Maybe we have to learn a little bit more about, this is also unit cost, units and okay, for the moment we are constructing curve for the cost, average cost. What is happening when this is your here y-axis is, x-axis is units produced. When you are producing more, your unit cost is decreasing. Unit cost is decreasing, and this decreasing up to 100% capacity. Decreasing up to, when you are producing more from 1,000, when you are producing 2,000, your cost, average cost is 115. When you are producing 3,000, 3,500, your cost is 72. When you are producing 5,000, your cost is 55. When you are going beyond capacity, again it is increasing. So economies of scale means that you have to produce at 100% capacity. and that will bring your minimum cost of production per unit. And as a production manager, as an operations manager, you have to produce at 100% capacity. 100% capacity, beyond which will increase your average cost, and that would be detrimental for you. And maybe this is about today's lecture. It is about economies of scale. What is it? Economies of scale. How operations manager is concerned with